Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial, as you can see from the title, is an eyebrow tutorial. I've been requested by one of my subscribers, Trisha, hey Trisha, for a eyebrow tutorial. So I just thought I would do that for you, just so you can see the products that I use and my own techniques. Now, you don't necessarily have to follow my techniques or use the same products as I do, whatever's at your disposal, and I'll get right into the tutorial. So the first thing that I always do is I always groom my brows, make sure there is no stray hairs that I need to remove, and I use the Tweezerman tweezers just to remove any hairs. So I've already done that a few days ago when I waxed my brows. So the first thing that I like to do after that is I just like to brush my brows up. Now what I'm using is a double-ended brush. It's from Makeup Forever. It's in, I don't even know the number because it has rubbed off, but it's the angled part of the brush on one end and the spoolie on the other. So the product that I first like to use is the Makeup Forever Aqua Brow, and I use the number 30. I put that just on a palette. I put some on the palette. So you need about this much. And I just dip my brush into it. So I'm going to zoom in a little more just so you can see. Okay. So I just like to go and I start underneath. And just fill in where I need to fill in. Now when you are filling in the brows, I like underneath really precise. But you also want to make sure that you're blending the product up into the hairs of the brow. So just go along and just brush it up into the hairs. Now when I get to the tail of the brow, going back in with the product. Now when you're doing the tail of the brow, you have to make sure that it is no longer than the outer portion of your eye. So that's the way you would measure to ensure that your brow, the tail of your brow is no longer. The arch normally starts in the outer part of your pupil, and your brows should start right here. So now for the top of the brow, I do have a fuller brow, so I don't need much filling in, but right here where I do need a little bit of filling in, that's where I start my arch. So I'm going to go in, let's switch hands actually. And just create my arch like so. So you should get an arch and a brow that looks like this. Now for the other brow, I'm going to use the same steps to fill in my brow there. Now if you do happen to mess up as I just did right under here, I do have another step where we can fix that, which I'll show you. So you don't have to worry too much about being so neat, because we will clean up the brows after. It's always good to look back and forth at your brows to make sure they're as symmetrical as possible. Mind you, they don't need to be identical twins. they use a term, your brows are not supposed to be twins, they're supposed to be sisters. So try to make them look as similar as possible without being too perfect, I guess you could say, because you will be there all day. So whatever excess that you have, you can just fill in the areas that are a little bit more sparse. For the heads of my brows, I like to use a powder just so it's not so harsh. And the powder that I use is from the e.l.f. eyebrow kit. It looks like that. And I use the color dark. So this is the powder here. And that is the wax. From time to time, I also use the wax as opposed to using the... So as I was saying, I like to go in with the powder here. What's it called? The Aqua Brow. And just fill in. So I've already got the product on the brush. And I just go along the heads of the brows and just fill it in. Always making sure that you're brushing out the brow just to soften it up. So now the next thing that I like to do is go in with a concealer, which is so now I use a lighter concealer underneath just to give it a real sharp line. On top of the brow to clean it up, I normally go in with foundation that matches my skin because I cannot stand to see the ray of light, I call it. When you take pictures, you can see white above here. So I just have the concealer on the back of my hand, and I'm using a detailer brush from Real Techniques. And I just go in and clean up underneath. So when you do clean up underneath, any mistakes that you've made where you weren't as neat, the concealer will help aid in cleaning that up. So I'm going to clean up the other brow, and then I'm going to come back and show you how both brows look after they've been cleaned up. Stay tuned. Alright, I'm back. So these are the finished brows. Very simple to do. All I did in the end was just set it with a little bit of brow gel. And there you have it. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.